The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the hosts and guests may or may not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Miami University.
I am going into my last semester of chemical engineering.
I'm a senior journalism major.
And I'm minoring in supply chain and operations management.
I'm a biochemistry major.
Classes are going great. Extracurriculars are going great.
I'm an RA on campus.
I'm thriving.
Hi, I'm Jason Megacy, and this is Major Insight. This is the podcast where we talk college life with amazing students about how to find your place and purpose on campus. For Olivia Casey, teaching is almost a family tradition, and she's carrying on the legacy by majoring in middle childhood education. But Olivia is not only interested in teaching math and social studies, she's also a member of the Urban Cohort, where she collaborates with high-need schools and works with children by grounding herself in the local community. Olivia is also all about studying abroad, and after visiting and teaching at Miami's campus in Luxembourg, she discovered a passion for international travel and for experiencing new cultures. Olivia, let's just start with this. Who are you?
My name is Olivia Casey. I'm a senior from Cleveland. I'm in a couple of things on campus. I'm in a sorority, and I'm very passionate about studying abroad and traveling, and I'm going to be a future teacher.
Majors, minors, all of
So
this
I'll be middle childhood, and my concentrations are social studies and math. And then I'm also involved in the Urban Cohort. Okay. So we do social justice work in Over the Rhine and Lower Price Hill in Cincinnati. And I'm the advisor of Education, Health, and Society Ambassadors.
So how's it feel to be at the end of this journey, like getting ready to move on to the next phase?
I know. I've talked to a lot of people about graduating and like the friends that I know that are post-grad and like how they're feeling. But I don't know. It's sad because I live with 8 girls in my house, see them every day, and like everyone's around you.
Yeah.
It hasn't hit me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before we got on here, you had mentioned something about your grandparents being teachers. Talk to me a little bit about that and how that influenced you growing up.
Yeah, my grandma and my grandpa were both teachers, and my grandma is just like my go-to person. I love her to death. She just turned 80 this year, so she was a kindergarten teacher, and she's worked for 25 years as a kindergarten teacher, and now she still substitutes as like an 80-year-old, and she just does it because she enjoys it. And my grandpa, he worked at a high school. They've just inspired me based off like their life together, the family that they've created, the individuals they are. It's a fulfilling career.
Was there any part of you growing up that showed signs of being a teacher, or was it more like when you reached this age of like deciding what you wanted to do for your career, you're like, okay, these are where my passions kind of align?
So in high school, like my sophomore year, I started helping out with soccer. So I played soccer all through high school. I mean, I've played it since I was in 2nd grade. And I worked with soccer after our varsity practice. I'd stay and there'd be the travel kids. And so I've worked with them. I was a camp counselor for a summer. But I don't know, just working with kids and seeing them like understand things or like the teamwork of it too, I really enjoyed. And like just like collaborating, in different settings. I've thought a lot about what do I want to do every day for the rest of my life? Like, do I want to be sitting in an office doing some type of job, or do I want to be like every day's a new day? You can be very creative, new class, new kids. You'll be impacting a lot of kids. So that's kind of what I wanted to do.
And what about, because you said your middle childhood, right? So what is that? Yeah, what does that entail? So
it would be from 4th to 9th grade, which is middle school.
Yeah.
So people think I'm crazy because middle schoolers, they're going through mid-adolescent, they're going through a lot of changes. But I think with my history, like my experience in middle school, like my parents got divorced in 6th grade. However, there's those teachers that have like helped me through that, and they were there for me. I mean, got me to where I wanted to be going into high school. So that's kind of what I want to be for, those middle schoolers that are going through all those changes.
Yeah, gotcha. So now to get back on, your kind of timeline to here, senior year of high school, what are your thoughts going into the college search experience? And then ultimately, why was Miami the place that you wanted to spend 4 years?
Going into colleges, I mean, I knew I was going to stay in state. So Miami was not even on my radar. I really was like Ohio State till I die, like Buckeye fan, because my whole family went there. My mom went there. But Miami, their education program, their scholarship, and then the study abroad was huge for me because I knew I wanted to study abroad in college, and Miami was the place. And I just, fell in love with campus like everyone does. Yeah.
And then coming in freshman year, what was the biggest shock to you? What was the biggest adjustment you think you had to make coming in on campus?
I did feel homesick. I was 4 hours away, which, I'm not out of state, but I did feel homesick. And I would FaceTime my mom once a day. And I was like, will I ever get over this? And now you're a senior and you're like, oh wait, this is the life.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
No, I completely feel that because I kind of felt a little bit of isolation coming in freshman year, because you, it's this big, wide new world that you don't know. No one gives you a playbook on okay, this is how you get through college. You know what I'm saying? So you just got to kind of feel your way around. So on the flip side of that, what was something that was kind of surprising to you that you were like, oh, I thought I might struggle with that, but in actuality, it kind of just came naturally to you?
Yeah. The getting involved, I've always tried to get involved with wherever I am. So getting involved in Miami, it was an easy transition, going to the mega fair and meeting people through those organizations I got involved in. That was an easy transition for me that I was a little worried about, but it was a success, I would say, my freshman year.
So what were those organizations that you started off with?
I joined Miami Activity and Programming, MAP, and we do late night events and then other events on campus, and they're free to students. And then I was in EHS Ambassadors, so it's our college's ambassador program. And then I joined a sorority, but those are my top three. And I also got a job on campus. So I was a lifeguard at the rec.
Yeah. And then what about those organizations? What made those stick out compared to the other ones? You're like, okay, I would like to be a part of this group instead of this group. Yeah.
I knew with my major as education, I wanted to get involved in an organization that would help me network, help me meet new people in my major, and that was EHS Ambassadors. And then MAP, I love planning, and everyone that's in the organization is all for everyone wants to do everything and have a good time, and college is a fun experience, so everyone was happy and positive and energetic. So surrounding myself around those type of people was also crucial for my success freshman year.
Now, this is the part that I really am curious about. 3 different study abroad trips, right?
Yes.
Is that true? Talk to me about first what drew you to study abroad initially.
I love learning about new cultures, new languages, meeting new people. So those 3 things, just studying abroad is how I'm gonna get that. How I'm gonna achieve those goals of what I wanted to experience in college. And so the first time I went over was spring 2020. And so I was there a month and a half. And
where at?
I was in Luxembourg. Okay. So MUDEC, our main campus. And, I was involved in MUDEC, Miami University in Lux, but then I also was in the international school and was there for 3 hours a week. I went twice. So I met those students and made some connections at the international school. And then I also was at the social pantry, which is kind of think of a, the U.S. pantry, food pantries. And so I was involved in that, and I was meeting and hearing about all these stories of immigrants and refugees that came to Luxembourg from other parts of the world. So the Middle East, majority of the people came from the Middle East. And it just opened up my perspective to I'm from the U.S., but there's an entire world out there. And a lot of times I feel people from the U.S. can be not closed-minded to the world, but we just don't know what's out there. We have everything here. But that first experience just led me to all these different pathways of what I wanted to do next.
So I think the craziest thing about 3 different trips is that for most people, like the average students. They're cool with one trip because they're like, oh, I don't want to miss out on what's going on here.
FOMO.
Yeah. Did that ever cross your mind, or how did you kind of cope with that?
Yeah, that's like probably one of like the big, like when people choose to go abroad, it's fear of missing out on like big events that are happening on campus and with your friends. But for me, I knew I wanted to do this going in. So I've always had it in the back of my mind, like, yes, spring 2020, I'm going to miss recruitment. I'm going to miss my classes, like the people that I'm with in my education courses, which I had a great connection there with everyone. But like, this is my time to now study abroad and experience all these things that I've wanted to experience going into school, like going to Miami.
Okay, cool. So the first spot was Luxembourg.
So all 3 of my study abroad programs were based in Luxembourg.
Okay.
Which, yes, is like, why do you want to go back to Luxembourg so many times?
Yeah.
But it's like my home base. So like your home base is Luxembourg, like your host family, that's where all your stuff is. But you go every weekend somewhere else. And that's like in the central location of Luxembourg. It's right in the middle.
Yeah.
Borders Belgium, Germany, and France. You can go so many places in less than 2 hours on train.
What was your favorite spot to go to then while you were over there?
I say I have 3 favorite cities, and they all start with the letter B. Barcelona,
Okay.
Berlin, Germany, and Budapest.
Which of the 3 trips do you think had the most impact on you, right? Because I mean, obviously, you may be going to the same places when you go to these 3 trips, but obviously not everyone is going to be the same. Is that correct?
Yeah. The first trip definitely like opened my eyes to things, but put me out of my comfort zone, like culture shock to the max. And I felt it. But it was an uncomfortable feeling. But then as I eased into a routine, a schedule, exploring every weekend, I'm like, oh, I can do this. Like, this is fun. Second trip was more of like it was a summer month in Europe, and definitely changed the way I looked at things and the people that I've met. Some cities, I could care less about the city. It's the people that I meet there.
Yeah.
And then this last trip, I would say, was the most impactful for me because I was there 2.5 months. While I was also traveling, I was doing something I'm passionate about, which is teaching. So I was at the international school, and the connections I've made with the host teacher and the students is an experience I'll never forget. So as well as like Monday through Friday, I was at a school, international school. My class had like 18 students, and they were all from some different background. I mean, there was German, French, Lithuanian, Romanian, Italian, Indian, like the list goes on and on of all the different students in my class. They came to the classroom, spoke English, go home, and speak their first language with their parents. And then on the weekends, I would be traveling to new cities. So it was like I was doing what I loved, and then I was also doing what I loved on the weekends.
Yeah.
So
That's crazy. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. I'm envious a little bit. That sounds amazing.
it was a good time.
And then, so I know there were some teachers that were pretty integral in that process of you going abroad. Can you just speak on them? Give them a couple shout outs?
Yeah, I would say Dr. Jim Shively. He is retired now, but he is the reason why I studied abroad in the first place. So he is the OG. That man is the best. He's the one that made these connections with the schools abroad. So with these international schools, it's not like Miami just came in and was like, hey, we're going to give you student teachers. He built those connections and the relationships, and very grateful for all of his work in the past, like 10 years he's been doing it. Molly Sawyer, she's like our coordinator. She came over with us, and her heart is as big as this. She cared for us every step of the way. She was there for us, like the email updates, oh, I hope you guys are doing okay. Like, let's meet, let's chat. I want to hear about your experiences. She was great. Sarah Barlow was my teacher abroad. She was my host teacher. She also was an integral part of it.
So, I mean, obviously, that student teaching in Luxembourg probably had an impact on what you're planning on doing after school, correct? Which is teaching in Thailand. Is that right?
So, yes, that is the plan right now.
Okay. How did that come about?
So, after my 3 trips to Europe, and then I've been to Europe one other time before that, I'm like, I feel like I've seen what I've wanted to see, and I've traveled, I've done the solo trips, the backpacking. So now it's time for a new continent. And I guess I picked Asia.
Got you.
So
the one thing throughout like everything you've been saying is all this stuff sounds extravagant and like amazing, and I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
But the thing that I think is important to understand is like you are a special person and you're doing great things, but like anybody can do what you're doing, right? Is that
Yeah.
would you say?
yeah, I would say, I mean, if you're interested in traveling, you just got to do it. And I think a lot of times, it's scary to go somewhere it's unknown, the fear of the unknown.
So now coming back home, talk to me. You said you're part of the urban cohort and then also a social sorority. Just talk to me about how those two pieces have kind of worked to shape this experience you've had.
So the urban cohort has helped me, as well as like the experience abroad, like opening my eyes to new cultures and things like that. The urban cohort has more helped me on opening my eyes to challenges individuals face. It is a cohort where we come together and we talk about social justice issues. We read social justice books, theories, and then we take what we learn and we go to Over the Rhine and Lower Price Hill, those areas in Cincinnati, and we work with the youth. So we do a lot of youth work, and we'll go to a school like every Friday. My sophomore year, we went to Lower Price Hill and worked with a group of young girls at a middle school, and we talked about issues that they were experiencing in their school, came up with like a solution, a plan, how to execute. But yeah, so we work with like the individuals that live in Over the Rhine, which is like a gentrified area of Cincinnati, and Dr. Tammy Schwartz. She leads the program, and she is just the most passionate woman I've ever met about, issues within Cincinnati and just our world.
In what ways have you seen yourself grow through these 4 years in both, personal and professional lives?
Jason, these are huge questions here. You're really throwing it.
That's what I'm here for. I want you to think a little bit.
Okay. Graduating in the spring, thinking about walking across the stage, like my 4 years. I ask myself this question a lot. Like, am I experiencing the max out of college? I think we all ask ourselves that. And I would say yes. My profession, I have, student taught. I have done all my classes, a decent GPA where I'm like, yes, I feel like I've learned a lot. And I've made connections with kids over the 4 years. And so like my major-wise and profession, I think I'm ready. I'm ready to go into a classroom, have a class. Personally, the relationships that I've made here will definitely last a lifetime. I mean, the girls that I've met, the just people that I've met, and the studying abroad has definitely changed how I see the world and how I want post-grad to be like. But no, I've definitely changed in a better way and came out with new perspectives, new goals for me. Yes, it's sad saying goodbye, but I think I'm ready.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. It's like when I came in, you have this idea of what you think college is going to be or what you want it to be, right? And then in some aspects it is that, like it meets those expectations, but then in other aspects, it either breaks them down or, it creates new ones and things like that. And I think that's the most exciting thing about this next chapter is like, okay, now that I know that this was how this 4 years is going to go, which was like kind of life JV, if you want to put it that way. And like so much more can happen after you walk across that stage too.
Yeah.
So last question I got for you, advice for your freshman self.
I mean, it's going to sound cliche, but like what I've said at the beginning is like taking one day at a time. I would say my freshman year, like every day being homesick, but taking every day, one day at a time is huge.
Keep pushing through one day at a time.
Yeah.
Nice, short and sweet.
Yeah, short and sweet.
Cool. Well, Olivia, I appreciate you for taking the time to talk with me. After you walk across that stage, you're going to kill it. So
Thank you
I wish you the
much.
best of luck. Olivia Casey is a middle childhood education major here at Miami University. And after graduation, she plans to teach English in Thailand. And thank you for listening to Major Insight. If you enjoyed this podcast, share with your friends or anyone interested in navigating college life. Many more episodes are now available wherever you get your podcasts.